I walked into the kitchen that fateful afternoon, expecting the usual banter between my dad and his best friend, but instead I froze at the doorway. Delisa's hand lingered a second too long on my arm as she passed me a glass of water, her fingers brushing my skin in a way that sent electricity shooting through me, and in that instant, I knew something had shifted irrevocably. My heart pounded as her eyes met mine, holding a secret that neither of us could voice, especially not with my father laughing obliviously across the room. What was I thinking? Delisa had been like an aunt to me growing up, my dad's college buddy, the one who showed up at every family barbecue, always with a story about their wild days before marriage and kids tamed them. She was straight, married once, divorced now, but straight as an arrow, or so everyone assumed, including me. Until that touch. It wasn't accidental. I could feel the intention in it, the way her thumb grazed my wrist just enough to make my breath hitch. I pulled away, mumbling something about homework, but inside my mind was a storm. Why me? Why now? At 25, I was still figuring out my own life. Fresh out of a messy breakup with a girl from college who couldn't handle my family's conservative vibes. And Delisa? She was 38, successful, the kind of woman who turned heads without trying. But she was my dad's best friend. This couldn't be happening. That evening, alone in my room, I replayed the moment over and over. Had I imagined it? No, her eyes had darkened just for a split second, like she was seeing me for the first time. Not as little Dakota, the tomboy kid tagging along, but as a woman. A woman who could make her question everything. I paced the floor, my thoughts racing. What if she was just being friendly? But friendly doesn't make your pulse race like that. And what about Dad? He adored her. They were inseparable since their frat days. If he ever found out, God, the betrayal would crush him. He's the epitome of the all-American dad, straight-laced, church-going, the kind who still believed in traditional values, even after Mom left us years ago. He'd never understand. Hell, I barely understood it myself. The next day, I avoided the house as much as possible, burying myself in work at the coffee shop downtown. Seattle's rain drummed against the windows, mirroring the chaos in my head. Why couldn't I shake this? I'd known I was gay since high school, but coming out to Dad had been a nightmare. He'd nodded, said he loved me, but the disappointment in his eyes lingered like a shadow. Now this, Delisa showing up more often lately, ever since her divorce finalized 6 months ago. Was she lonely? Was that it? Or was there something deeper? Something she buried under layers of heteronormative expectations? I wiped down counters aggressively, ignoring the sympathetic glances from my coworker. You okay, Dakota? She asked. Yeah, just family stuff. I lied. But it wasn't just family. It was forbidden territory, the kind that could shatter everything. By evening, Dad called me home for dinner. Delisa's joining us, he said cheerfully. My stomach twisted. I couldn't skip it without raising suspicions. When I arrived, she was already there, helping him set the table, her laughter filling the space. She looked stunning. Casual jeans and a sweater that hugged her curves just right. Her short hair tousled like she'd run her fingers through it. Our eyes met again, and this time she smiled knowingly. Hey kiddo, she said, but the word felt wrong now, laced with something unspoken. Throughout dinner I kept my head down, but every time she spoke, her voice wrapped around me like a vice. Dad rambled about their old adventures, oblivious to the tension crackling between us. After he stepped out to take a call, Delisa leaned in. You felt it too, didn't you? She whispered. My fork clattered to the plate. What are you talking about? I hissed, but my voice trembled. She didn't back down. Yesterday. That touch. It's been building, Dakota. I can't pretend anymore. Panic surged through me. This was insane. She was crossing a line that could destroy friendships, families. But as she looked at me, vulnerable for the first time, I couldn't deny the pull. What was I supposed to do? Tell her to stop? Run? Or worse, admit that I wanted more? The internal war raged. Loyalty to Dad versus this inexplicable connection. Society would label us wrong, a generational gap, the betrayal factor, the assumption that women like her didn't swing this way. But in that moment, alone at the table, I didn't look away. I couldn't. Over the next week, the avoidance game became torture. Delisa texted me, innocent at first, asking about my day, but escalating to late-night confessions. I've never felt this before, one message read. Not with anyone. I stared at my phone, heart aching. Was she serious? Or was this some midlife crisis using me to experiment? The doubt gnawed at me. I'd seen friends get burned by straight women dipping their toes in queer waters, only to retreat when things got real. But Delisa wasn't like that. She was steady, reliable. Or so I thought. Dad noticed my distraction. "What's up with you, kid? You seem off." I shrugged it off, but guilt twisted like a knife. Hiding this from him felt like betrayal, yet telling him would be worse. One night, I met her in secret at a park near the house. The air was crisp, but my palms sweated. "This can't happen," I said immediately. She nodded, but her eyes said otherwise. "I know, but why does it feel so right?" We talked for hours about her marriage, how it crumbled under unspoken desires, about my struggles with identity in a family that prized normalcy. Her vulnerability cracked me open. For the first time, I shared my fears. The societal stares, the family judgment, the moral quandary of pursuing my dad's best friend. "It's not just about us," I whispered. "It's about what we destroy." She reached for my hand, and this time I didn't pull away. The touch ignited something fierce, but I pushed it down. We parted with promises to stop, but deep down I knew it was a lie. The conflict intensified. At work I zoned out, replaying our conversation. Was love worth the fallout? Society screamed no. Lesbian relationships already faced enough scrutiny without adding age differences and familial ties. But my heart argued yes. Delisa's messages became my lifeline and my torment. "I miss talking to you," she'd say. And I'd respond, hating myself for it. Dad invited her over again, and the dinner was agony. Forced smiles, stolen glances. When he left the room, she murmured, "We need to figure this out." I nodded, trapped in a web of desire and dread. What price was I willing to pay? The secrecy gnawed at me like a persistent ache, turning every interaction into a minefield. Delisa and I agreed to meet less, but fate, or perhaps our own weaknesses, conspired against us. Dad's birthday party loomed. A backyard gathering with old friends, and of course she was there, looking effortlessly elegant in a summer dress that made my throat dry. As guests milled about, laughing over grilled burgers, I caught her watching me from across the lawn. Our eyes locked, and in that crowded space it felt like we were alone. But then Dad clapped her on the back, pulling her into a bear hug, and the guilt crashed over me like a wave. How could I do this to him? Inside my head, the arguments raged non-stop. On one side, the rational voice. "Stop now before it's too late. She's your father's confidant. Crossing this line is unforgivable. Society would see it as predatory, me as the naive young thing, her as the older woman taking advantage." But the other voice, the one fueled by emotion, whispered back, "What if this is real? What if denying it means missing out on something profound?" I'd spent years hiding my true self, conforming to expectations that suffocated me. Delisa made me feel seen, alive in a way no one else had. Yet, the moral dilemma twisted deeper. Was I betraying not just Dad but my own principles? During the party, I slipped away to the kitchen for a breather. She followed moments later. "We can't keep avoiding each other," she said softly, closing the door behind her. Her proximity was intoxicating, but I stepped back. "This is wrong, Delisa. He's right outside." She sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I know, but pretending nothing's there is killing me. I've spent my life playing it safe. Marrying a man I didn't love, burying these feelings. Meeting you. It's like waking up." Her words hit hard, echoing my own buried truths. We stood there, inches apart, the air thick with unspoken longing. Then Dad's voice boomed from outside, calling her name, and we snapped apart like guilty children. That night, alone in bed, I wrestled with the fallout scenarios. If Dad found out, his world would shatter. He'd lose his best friend, question his judgment, maybe even blame himself for bringing her into our lives. And me? I'd be the villain in his eyes, the daughter who stole away his rock. Society's judgment loomed larger, whispers about those lesbians. The age gap fueling tabloid-worthy gossip. But deeper still was my own self-doubt. Was I strong enough to face it all? Or was this just a fleeting infatuation, destined to burn out and leave scars? The next few days blurred into a haze of tension. Delisa and I texted furtively, our conversations laced with frustration and desire. I can't stop thinking about you, she'd admit. Me neither, I'd reply, then delete the evidence, hating the deception. At work, a customer flirted with me, but I brushed it off. Nothing compared to the intensity with Deliza. Dad noticed my mood swings. You seeing someone? He asked over breakfast. I nearly choked on my coffee. No, Dad. Just busy. The lie tasted bitter, amplifying the internal conflict. How long could I sustain this double life? Then came the turning point. Deliza invited me to her apartment under the guise of helping with some old photos for Dad. I knew it was a bad idea, but I went anyway, curiosity and longing overriding sense. Her place was cozy, filled with mementos from her life with him. Framed pictures of their college days. Seeing them stung. This is us, she said, pointing to one. Before everything got complicated. We sat on the couch, the space between us charged. Why me? I finally asked. Because you see me, Dakota. Not the facade. Her honesty disarmed me. We talked deep into the night. About her repressed feelings, the societal pressure to conform, the fear of coming out at her age. I've hurt people by hiding, she confessed. My ex-husband deserved better. Tears welled in her eyes and I reached out, comforting her. The touch lingered, evolving into something more profound, a connection that transcended words. But we stopped short, pulling back at the brink. Leaving her apartment, my mind swirled with contradictions. This wasn't just attraction, it was emotional entanglement, the kind that demanded sacrifices. What would I give up? My relationship with Dad? My peace of mind? And Deliza, what about her friendship with him built over decades? The moral quandary intensified. Was pursuing happiness selfish if it caused pain to others? Society preached tolerance, but in practice it judged harshly, especially when lines blurred like this. The pressure built. Dad planned a fishing trip with Deliza, their annual ritual. You should come, he suggested. I declined, feigning work, but jealousy twisted inside me. While they were gone, I confided in a friend, spilling fragments of the truth. That's messy, she said. Think about the consequences. Her words echoed my fears, but also ignited defiance. Why should love be dictated by norms? Yet the doubt persisted. When they returned, Deliza looked exhausted, and in a stolen moment she whispered, I told him nothing, but I want to tell the world about us. My heart soared and sank simultaneously. As weeks passed, the secrecy eroded us. Arguments flared in hushed tones. Me accusing her of using me to explore, her defending her genuine feelings. This isn't a phase, she insisted. But the damage was seeping in. Dad sensed the shift in their dynamic. You and Deliza seem distant, he noted. I deflected, but guilt compounded. The internal battles raged. Loyalty versus self-fulfillment. Right versus wrong. Every decision felt like a gamble with high stakes. One evening it boiled over. Deliza confronted me at the park again. We can't keep this half-life. Either we commit or end it. Her ultimatum hit like a punch. Commit? That meant coming clean, facing the storm. End it? The thought hollowed me out. I walked away without answering, tears streaming, the weight of choices crushing me. What was the right path in a world full of grays? The ultimatum hung over me like a storm cloud, forcing decisions I'd avoided for too long. Days blurred into sleepless nights, my mind a battlefield of what-ifs. Deliza's words echoed. Commit or end it. Committing meant detonating our lives. Telling Dad, enduring his heartbreak, navigating societal backlash. Ending it meant burying feelings that had awakened parts of me I didn't know existed. Either way, someone got hurt. Me, her, Dad. The moral tightrope tightened, questioning if love justified the collateral damage. I confronted my reflection in the mirror, searching for answers. You're selfish, I muttered. But was I? Years of suppressing my identity for family harmony had left me hollow. Deliza offered authenticity, but at what cost? Society's voice intruded. Older woman, younger girl, forbidden friendship, scandal waiting to happen. Lesbians already fought for acceptance. This would fuel stereotypes. Yet, her vulnerability haunted me. The way she'd opened up about her suppressed desires, the pain of living a lie. We were mirrors of each other, both victims of expectations. Dad's obliviousness amplified the guilt. Over dinner, He shared stories of Deliza's support during Mom's departure. "She's family," he said warmly. The word stabbed. Family didn't betray like this. I nodded mechanically, appetite gone. Later, alone, I drafted texts to her, breaking it off then deleting them. The pull was magnetic. "Meet me," I finally sent. We rendezvoused at a quiet cafe, away from prying eyes. She looked worn, shadows under her eyes. "I can't lose you," she admitted. "But I can't lose him either." The confession cracked her facade. We dissected our options. Secrecy forever?
Impossible.
Confession? Catastrophic. The conversation turned raw, exposing fears. "What if he hates me?" she whispered. "What if he hates us both?" The societal pressure weighed heavy. Friends' subtle judgments, family's conservative roots. Coming out as a couple would invite scrutiny. "They'll say I seduced you," she said bitterly. "Or that you're rebelling." The labels stung, but deeper was the ethical dilemma. Was our happiness worth his pain? Dad had sacrificed for me. Single parenting, supporting my dreams despite his reservations about my sexuality. Repaying that with betrayal felt monstrous. Yet, denying myself again felt like self-betrayal. Tensions escalated when Dad invited us both to a game night. The atmosphere crackled with unspoken strain. Laughter felt forced as we played cards, but under the table her foot brushed mine. A risky move that sent my heart racing. Dad won a round, beaming. "You two are off your game tonight." If only he knew. After he retired early, Deliza and I lingered in the living room. "This is torture," I said. She agreed, pulling me into a hug that lingered too long. The comfort turned electric, but we parted breathless. "We have to decide," she urged. The next day I sought solitude in a hike, thoughts churning. Nature's vastness mocked my turmoil. Was love a right or a privilege? In a world preaching equality, why did our story feel taboo? Returning home, a message from her. I told my sister. Panic surged. Her sister, conservative like Dad, reacted poorly. Accusations of midlife confusion, warnings about ruining lives. "She thinks I'm crazy," Deliza confessed later. The ripple effects began, eroding our bubble. Doubt crept in. Was this sustainable? Confrontations mounted. Dad cornered me. "Something's going on with you and Deliza. She's been distant." I denied it, but his suspicion lingered. The lie festered, damaging our bond. Internally I battled. Protect him or pursue truth? Deliza faced her own demons. Questioning her identity. The years wasted in denial. "I thought I was straight," she admitted. "Until you." Her awakening inspired and terrified me. A breaking point arrived during a family outing. Dad, Deliza, and I at the lake. His idea to rekindle old times. The day started light, but tension simmered. As Dad fished, we stole a moment by the water. "I love you," she whispered suddenly. The words shattered me, joy mingled with dread. "I love you too," I replied, but the confession felt like a death knell. Dad called us back and the facade resumed. That night back home I broke down. The weight of deception was unbearable. Decisions crystallized. I arranged a private talk with Deliza. "We tell him together," I said. She nodded, fear in her eyes. But as we planned, doubts resurfaced. What if it destroyed everything? The moral crossroads loomed. Sacrifice for love or retreat for peace? Society's judgment paled against personal fallout. In the end we chose truth, knowing the price. The confrontation loomed. Dad sensed the gravity when we asked to talk. Sitting in the living room, hearts pounding, Deliza started. "There's something you need to know." His face paled as words tumbled out. Feelings, connection, love. Silence followed, then explosion. "How could you?" he roared at her. "My daughter? My best friend." Betrayal etched his features. I intervened. "Dad, please understand." But he stormed out, leaving us in ruins. The damage was done. The aftermath hit like a hurricane, sweeping away the fragile illusions we'd clung to. Dad's silence was deafening. Days without speaking, his eyes avoiding mine, the house echoing with unspoken accusations. I'd expected anger, but the quiet devastation cut deeper. "You've ruined everything," he finally said one evening, voice cracking. The words pierced my soul. Was he right? In pursuing my heart, had I sacrificed his? Deliza fared no better. Their friendship, once unbreakable, lay in tatters. She texted. He won't answer my calls. The guilt consumed us both, a constant reminder of the choices we'd made. Internally, the self-recrimination was relentless. Why hadn't I stopped it sooner? Society's narratives replayed. Forbidden love leads to destruction. Lesbians in media often got happy endings, but reality was messy. Family rifts, social isolation. Dad's conservative circle would gossip, labeling us deviants. But amid the pain, a spark of defiance flickered. We'd chosen authenticity over facade. Was that wrong? The moral ambiguity tormented me. Happiness at others' expense felt selfish, yet suppression bred resentment. Delisa and I met in neutral territory, a small diner far from home. She looked haggard, the toll evident. Was it worth it? I asked. She hesitated. I think so. But the hurt. We dissected the fallout, her voice trembling as she recalled Dad's betrayal-fueled rage. He called me a traitor. The word hung heavy. Our relationship, once thrilling, now carried the weight of consequences. Stolen moments felt tainted, overshadowed by loss. Yet in her eyes I saw resolve, the awakening she'd fought for years. I can't go back to pretending, she said. Her strength bolstered mine, but doubt lingered. Family pressure intensified. Relatives called, probing Dad's mood. I deflected, but whispers spread. Aunt Karen, ever the moralist, cornered me. This isn't right, Dakota. Think of your father. Her judgment fueled my anger. Why was our love the problem, not the intolerance? Society's double standards glared. Straight affairs got passes, but queer ones? Skandal. The internal conflict raged. Defend our choice or apologize for existing. Dad's confrontation with Delisa was brutal. I wasn't there, but she recounted it tearfully. He said I took advantage of you. The accusation stung. Age gap assumptions ignoring our mutual feelings. I told him it's real, she said. But trust was shattered. He demanded distance, banning her from the house. The edict forced us underground again, meetings clandestine, amplifying the strain. This feels like punishment, I confessed. She nodded, but her touch reassured. We navigated the debris, rebuilding amid ruins. Healing glimpses emerged. Dad and I talked sporadically, awkward, pained exchanges. I just don't understand, he'd say. I'd explain. Love defies labels. His hurt softened slightly, revealing his own fears, losing me, his friend. The vulnerability humanized him, bridging gaps. But progress was slow, punctuated by setbacks. A family gathering turned tense when cousins side-eyed me. Heard about your situation. One smirked. The stigma burned, reinforcing societal barriers. Delisa faced her own battles. Coming out to friends elicited mixed reactions. Support from some, rejection from others. My ex-husband laughed, she shared bitterly. The mockery highlighted the miseducation around fluidity. Her journey inspired me, but the costs mounted. Lost connections, emotional exhaustion. Sometimes I wonder if I should have stayed silent, she admitted. The confession scared me. Was our foundation cracking? High drama peaked during a heated argument. You regret us? I accused. She denied it, but tension exploded. The pain is overwhelming. Words flew, blame, frustration, love. We parted angry, but reconciled days later, stronger for the honesty. The experience underscored the stakes. Relationships demanded work, especially under scrutiny. As months passed, tentative mending began. Dad invited me for coffee, a olive branch. I miss my friend, he confessed. And I want you happy. Tears flowed, his mine. Forgiveness loomed, but scars remained. Delisa and I grew closer, our bond tempered by fire. Society's gaze persisted, but we defied it, attending pride events, claiming space. Yet questions haunted, had we chosen right? The ethical debates continued internally, balancing self with others. In quiet moments I reflected on the journey. From that initial touch to this fragile piece. The damages were real, but so was the growth. Awakening came at a price, but denial's cost was higher. As we moved forward, uncertainties lingered but hope flickered. What lay ahead? Only time would tell. Reconciliation crept in slowly, like dawn after a long night. But the shadows of past hurts lingered. Dad and Deliza's first post-confession meeting was orchestrated carefully. A neutral park, Mia's buffer. Tension thickened the air as they faced each other. "I never meant to hurt you," she started, voice steady despite the tremor. He nodded curtly. "You did." The exchange was raw, accusations resurfacing. Betrayal, secrecy, the erosion of trust. I watched, heart aching as decades of friendship teetered. But beneath the anger, vulnerability emerged. Dad admitting his fear of change, Deliza sharing her identity struggle. "I was lost," she said. "Dakota helped me find myself." His eyes softened, perhaps seeing the humanity in our story. The conversation didn't heal everything, but it cracked the door. Dad left with a promise to think, leaving us hopeful yet wary. Internally, I grappled with the aftermath's complexity. Had our choices been moral? Society often painted love as black and white, but ours was a spectrum of grays, joy intertwined with pain. The awakening we'd experienced came with sacrifices, forcing us to question, is personal truth worth communal discord? As time progressed, small victories accumulated. Dad invited Deliza to a low-key dinner. The atmosphere tentative but civil. Laughter returned hesitantly, old stories bridging gaps. "Remember that road trip?" he'd say, and she'd smile. The mending was painstaking, each interaction a step toward forgiveness. But setbacks occurred. A relative's judgmental call reigniting Dad's doubts. "They say it's unnatural," he'd mutter. I'd counter, "Love is love." The societal pushback tested our resolve, but it also unified us. Deliza and I navigated our relationship amid this flux. Dates became declarations of defiance, holding hands in public, ignoring stares. Her confidence grew, shedding layers of repression. "I feel free," she'd whisper. But freedom's price was evident. Strained friendships, professional whispers. She lost a client who disapproved. The discrimination fueled anger, but also purpose, volunteering at LGBTQ centers, advocating for acceptance. My own growth mirrored hers. I shed self-doubt, embracing my identity fully. Yet the internal monologues persisted. Did we deserve this happiness after the chaos we'd caused? A pivotal moment arrived during Pride Month. We attended a parade, Dad surprisingly joining. "I want to understand," he said. The vibrant crowd, flags waving, overwhelmed him initially. But seeing our joy, he softened. "I'm proud of you," he told me later. Tears flowed. His acceptance a balm on old wounds. Deliza hugged him tentatively, the gesture symbolizing mending. The food for thought deepened. Change was possible, but required courage from all sides. Challenges persisted. Societal norms clashed with our reality. Media portrayals of queer love often idealized, ignoring the gritty struggles. We faced microaggressions. A neighbor's side eye, a coworker's joke. Each chipped at resilience but strengthened bonds. Dad's journey evolved. He read books on LGBTQ issues, awkward but earnest. "I was wrong," he admitted one day. The confession healed fractures, but scars reminded us of the path. In intimate moments, Deliza and I reflected. "We almost lost everything," I'd say. "But we gained more," she'd reply. Our love, forged in fire, felt unbreakable. Yet the ethical quandaries lingered. Had we been reckless? The debates with friends sparked. Some condemned, others empathized. The story's layers unfolded. Internal conflicts resolved through external battles. As stability returned, a new normal emerged. Family dinners included Deliza, conversations flowing easier. Dad's friendship with her revived, altered but authentic. Society's acceptance grew incrementally, but our vigilance remained. The journey taught harsh lessons. Love demands accountability. Awakening requires reckoning. Looking back, from that shocking touch to this hard-won peace, the transformations were profound. We'd confronted demons, personal, familial, societal, and emerged changed. But the costs were indelible, prompting endless reflection. In the end, was the pursuit of true self worth the heartbreak it inflicted on those we loved? Was it right to choose personal happiness over preserving a lifelong friendship, knowing the pain it would cause?